Hey guys, welcome to today's video on the Borg Motorsports channel. Today we're going to be unboxing a set of the Delrin control arm bushings for the C5 and C6 Corvette. Alright, once your package has arrived from Borg Motorsports, you can go ahead and open it up. And this is what you will see. You have your complimentary Borg Motorsports stickers. We'll set those off to the side, along with foam layer on top of the first set of bushings. This specific box is the offset bushing kit, and as you can see, we've got quite a bit of an offset in those bushings there. So on each level of the kit, you get one side of the car. You pull the top layer out, and as you can see, there is an identical one underneath. Now in the case of the offset bushing kit, underneath you get this packet of set screws, a drill, and a tap. This is what you're going to be using to stake the offset bushings. Because it's kind of an odd drill size for the specific metric tap I'm using, I included that in addition to the tap. These set screws, there's one for each of the bushings that you stake into the control arms, so 16 total. And just in case some get lost, you have some in the spares kit as well. Let's package this back up and we'll go to the top level. So as I said, each level of the kit includes one side of the car. You have your front control arm bushings for the uppers, as well as the lowers, and then you have your rear uppers and your rear lowers. So you can see for the upper control arms we have this dog bone here. That's the aluminum piece that goes through the bushing. You have one for the rear of the control arms as well. And if you look very closely, you'll see that the front of the dog bone that's meant to go on the front has a fairly close fit in terms of the hole size for the bolt that goes through there. The rear has a slightly larger hole, and then the dog bone that goes to the rear of the car has slight slots in them, and they're fairly large. This was designed by GM to accommodate a little bit of the shift that you'll get in the tolerances for the upper control arms. And you can see, if I grab this upper control arm we have over here, this is going to be the passenger side. And if you look carefully, there's an F, and you can see there's a small hole, followed by a slightly larger hole, followed by two slots. The Borg Motorsports bushing kit is meant to simulate those exactly. So you can see here, if we have our front to the left, you would have this dog bone replacing that side, and this dog bone replacing that side. If I get my hands out of the way here, you can see that then you have the same locating pin to locate the control arm front to rear on the vehicle, with increasing space as you move back to account for different tolerances within the chassis. That's a common question I get about these kits, and I wanted to make sure that you can see that that is addressed. Now it does mean that you have to ensure that the control arm dog bones are installed in the proper way. So tiny hole in the front, slots in the back. Let's put those away for now. Now this, as I said, is the offset control arm kit. As you can see, you've got some sleeves that go inside each bushing, along with the bushings themselves, and every single one of them is a different size. You can see that the lips are a different thickness as well in some cases, and you have a thicker portion of the bushing and a thinner portion. Now what this is designed to do, if I can get that back in the right direction, is the thicker portion of the bushing. So you can see the body here is much thicker than the body here. The thicker length or longer length goes in from the outside of the control arm. So these are for the lower front control arm. So let me get that pin back in there. So that means that if the control arm is sitting here, you put the longer portion of the bushing in from the outside and the thinner portion in from the inside. Over here, this would be backwards. You'd have to put it this way into the control arm. So longer portion from the outside, thinner from the inside. Then make sure you're looking at the length that goes inside the control arm. Because a couple of these bushings, the lip is actually thinner in the back than it is at the front. So you have to go by this length here, the long portion that goes inside the control arm. If that's not clear, feel free to shoot us an email or consult the instruction sheet that's online. So now that we've talked about the bushings and where they go in the control arms, let's look at some of the other equipment you get. We have a spares container, a few of the snap rings, set screws if you have the offset bushing kit, and these spacers. Your middle bag here has all the washers that go onto the dog bones. So as you can see, they're a little small for the offset bushing kit. We'll get one of these out here. This bag also has the snap rings that hold it on in this little clip you can see here. So the washer slides on. It is a fairly tight fit. You can see just a little bit of room there, and that's because when these are actually on the control arm, there is a very small gap between these two. That helps account for some of the differences in the width of the control arm mounting point. So you may find that you need to put this into a vise just to put a little bit of added pressure on here to compress everything. And then the snap rings will pop onto the outside here. So that's how you install these once you get them onto the control arms. In the last bag here, we have these precision ground spacers. And these are meant to go on any control arm bushing that has an eccentric. So, for example, this is the rear bushing on the lower control arm in the front, and we'll keep with the methodology of having forward that way. One of these spacers goes on each side of this sleeve that goes in the middle, just like that. Then when you pop it up into the car, this is what gives it a little bit of the play, but still a solid bearing surface to press against the subframe on. So you have 12 of these, one for each of the eccentrics. Obviously there are 2 in the front and 1 in the back on each side of the car. So that's why we ended up with 12. Go ahead and put these back now. So that is the Borg Motorsports offset bushing kit. Now if you're looking at the regular Delrin kit or the Delrin AF kit, you'll end up with some items that look like this. They're all identical dimensionally other than the offset that's machined into the bushings. So to compare, let's compare the dog bones in the front. So here's the front dog bone bushings. For the offset kit, you can see there's a line ground onto it to show the direction of the offset. That helps with lining them up on the control arm. Then we have the standard Delrin, which at this time is black, and the non-offset Delrin AF. You can see you get on the upper control arm, you get a couple tenths of an inch of offset there. For the offset bushings, you will need to stake those with the set screws that I showed you earlier. So that prevents them from rotating in the control arm. For the non-offset bushings, they just pop in and there's no need to stake them at all. So those items are not included in the kit. In addition to that, you can see there's a difference between these. Let's see if I can get the glare taken care of there. There's a difference between these control arm dog bone mounts. So the non-offset one has a washer that is concentric to the shaft that goes through the bushing itself. Whereas the offset one, the washer is machined offset from the main axis of the bushing to accommodate the offset that's in the Delrin. What this does is it means that your bushing is more lined up with the washer, so you have more of a surface for the control arm to bear against when it's putting load longitudinally through the control arm. So I'll take that one off. You can see if you put the other one on, you would end up with a bit of an offset there. And while structurally that would be okay because you still have a pretty solid bearing surface here, I wanted to maximize the amount of control that these bushings have on the suspension. So taking the time to machine these to match the bushings was well worth it. And as you can see, you can rotate through a pretty large amount of rotation with only just a little sliver sticking out there. So, the only other difference between the standard Delrin kit and the Delrin AF kit is the color of the Delrin. Standard Delrin has approximately the same density and strength as Delrin AF, but Delrin AF has Teflon impregnated in it. I use a Teflon or a Delrin that is impregnated with Teflon fibers as opposed to Teflon powder because it gives you a little bit better surface coefficient, so you end up with something that's a bit smoother when it's rotating. The only other difference between the kits is the washer you get for the dog bones. We have the large washer for the standard kit and the small washer for the offset kit. Now, even though this creates a smaller bearing surface here, there's not a lot of force going this way in the control arm because you have the dog bone on the other side taking the force from that control arm in the large machined in washer. For the non-offset kit, I have a full-size washer since it's easy to machine and doesn't involve a lot of separate structure on the dog bone. But to fit inside the subframe, it's a pretty tight fit. So it is fairly thin here, but it is strong enough to do what it needs to do. That will come in a bag in this location for the non-offset kits, standard Delrin and Delrin AF. And then the small washers go in here. So that's it for the unboxing video. If you have any questions, feel free to go to borgmotorsports.com, send us an email, or check any of the videos we have online that include installation instructions and just general Q&A about the products that we sell. There should be a link below if you want the instructions for the Delrin bushing kit. We're going to be doing an install on this specific offset bushing kit. And if you want to see more videos of the car racing or any of our other new products, make sure to check out our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.